Hey, welcome, DWU community. It is a wonderful Monday afternoon, Eastern Standard Time. So come on into the broadcast. I'm going to talk today a little lunch and learn for you how to stay motivated during the pandemic. So I'll give people a moment to come on into the broadcast. Let me make a few adjustments here. Come on in. Happy Monday. Just give a few, maybe a minute or so, give you guys a chance to come on in. Hope that you had an amazing, relaxing, restorative weekend on this past weekend. So we're starting a new week. And if I counted correctly, I believe it's week 7 of the pandemic. So come on in. Let me tag a few people. See if we can come on live. Let's see. Just a moment. Hope everybody's doing good. Hope you're doing well. Come on in. There's a few people, so we can get them in. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Some of you guys can catch this by replay if necessary. So I always love to introduce myself for those of you who are perhaps new to the community, don't know me personally. Andrea M. Stuckey, the Divorce Liberator and your favorite divorce coach, founder of Live Life Love Coaching, this community, Divorce Women Unite, and the Divorce to Destiny Academy. It's all about helping women rebuild, redefine, and liberate their lives following separation and divorce. And so today I wanted to come and talk to you about how to stay motivated during this pandemic. How to stay motivated during this pandemic. Oftentimes when I start my live broadcasts, live streams over on Periscope, wherever that may be, I love to use a quote or a scripture. And so when I thought about this topic, the first scripture that came to my mind was, without a vision, the people perish. Without a vision, the people perish. And I don't have the actual book for that, so if somebody can type that when you come across this live stream, what scripture that actually is. But I know it is a word of God because it's down in my heart, right? Inside, right? Without a vision, the people perish. And so I want you to think about that as we talk about how to stay motivated during the pandemic, right? So I think the first thing that we need to talk about is, hey, we're in the thick of this thing. Week number 7. Right, we are starting week 7. How have you been doing? Type it down in the comment section. I actually posted that question on my personal page. So those of you who follow me on my personal page, you can definitely go over there and reply if you'd like as well, where people are really sharing what their experiences have been during this pandemic and being primarily in home with your family, perhaps in home alone. Perhaps working from home, schooling children that you may not be familiar with. And I'm going to talk about some of these topics during this week. So make sure you're coming back around noon every day this week. But today we're going to talk about motivation because it's very important in various seasons of your life, how to stay motivated. How can you kickstart yourself, right? To be upbeat, to have energy, to not feel depressed, to not feel anxiety, to not feel sort of humdrum, right? And just going with the motion, right? How can you uplift yourself? So let's talk about that today. So I want to just break it down and say, first thing, we have to understand what motivation is, because motivation, inspiration, they're very different, right? So motivation is, here's a technical term, the reason one has for acting or behaving in a certain way. Let me repeat this. Motivation is the reason one has for acting or behaving in a certain way, right? Inspiration is information that kind of jumpstarts you to act. Right? So they're very different. But today I want to focus on motivation, because motivation is the reason, right? General desire to do something. What is your reason for getting up? What is your reason for the day ahead? What is your reason? Right? And so when we're not motivated, we're not eager to work hard, to be successful, to achieve, to pursue anything, there's no desire to succeed in any area of our life. That is lack of motivation, right? So remember, motivation is about the reason, right, to act or to behave in a certain way. Hey, I see you coming on the broadcast. I cannot see you unless you comment. Who is it? Say hello. Of course, always thumbs up and heart it up today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I can't see you on my iPhone, so I'm going to try and pull up too for a second. So keep that in mind for a moment. Motivation comes from within. Let me say it again. Motivation comes from within. And what is motivation? The reason, right? The reason behind acting or behaving in a certain way. So here's the thing. For those of you who are working from home, and depending on what working from home looks like, right? Some of you may have to log in. Some of you just may have some work to do at home at your leisure, right? But let's look outside of the work at home experience that many of you are doing right now, or experiencing right now. When you're going to your employer, right, there is a reason, there is a motivation for getting up at 5, 6, or 7 o'clock, right? That reason is that you have an employer, you are working a job, you have a career, a profession, and you are receiving an exchange for being there, correct? So what is that exchange? It's money. If you don't go to work, generally you don't get paid. We're not talking about vacation time, PTO, and all that, right? There is a motivation. So here's the thing. What is the motivation behind you going to get that paycheck? There is a reason that you desire, want, or need to have that money. Hey, Angela, great to see you, right? There is a reason, which is motivation, that you go to that employer to have that exchange, your ability that you're giving that employer, thus they are giving you a check. There is a mutualistic relationship there, right? Good morning to you. There is a reason, right? And so what does that paycheck do? You're going to get paid, right? So there's a reason, right? And so that paycheck provides what? The ability to pay your bills, the ability to have your kids in activities. If you don't have children, the ability to maybe save or put your money towards a long-term goal, a short-term goal, a vacation, whatever that is, right? So I'm bringing this back around, right? We're talking about motivation and the reason for a certain activity, because that's what motivation is, right? And so let's look at now that you're home. Let's look at the fact that you're working from home, or maybe you're just furloughed, laid off. Maybe you're getting paid, but you're just not working, right? There's a lot of different scenarios that are happening right now in America during this time right now, right? So what motivates you? Right? And this is what you're saying there. I don't feel motivated. And this is something that's very important for separated and divorced women. Now, depending on where you are in your journey, right? Many divorced women have lost their dream, have lost their own personal goals, have lost their own personal identity. Right? And so, yes, you may have been motivated to go to your job. Okay, but now that job, quote unquote, is not existing at this moment, right? That type of get up and go that's taking 8 to 9 hours, maybe 10 hours of your day. And then the rest of your day, you can just kind of be on a down slope, if that makes sense. By the time you come home, eat dinner, do your kids' activities or whatever, right? So now you've got to fill that time, right? So what, ma'am, do you want in your life? And a lot of times, hey, my diva, a lot of times what has happened is many divorced and separated women have lost their individual dream, right? And many of you have been divorced for quite some time, but you really haven't grasped your own individuality in terms of goals, pursuits, and dreams, right? One of my favorite quotes Steve Jobs said is, "The journey is the reward." When you are working towards something, That is the reward. That is the energy. That is the happiness, right? So I want you to think back for a moment. Remember, we're talking about motivation. What's something or a time in your life? I don't care how early it was. Maybe when you were in high school, you played sports or you did academics, wanted to get on the honor society, or you were pursuing, the college of your dreams that you wanted to go to, or then you got into college, you were pursuing your degree, right? You were working towards that degree. You knew that at the end of that degree, there's lied something more for you, right? Perhaps when you got out of college, you were searching for that job, or you were obtaining certain skills to get you to a certain level, right? Or for many of you, start a family, whatever that was, right? Angela says, I'm in the process of rediscovery now. Yes. Because many have lost our dreams, our own individual goals. And remember, motivation comes from within. And so when there isn't a reason, there's no activity, right? So when we wake up every morning, what's the goal for the day? Right? And it doesn't have to be some gigantic goal. I mean, it can be something in your home. It can be something physically, right? Spiritually, socially, even though in a time of social distancing, it doesn't mean we can't connect. We have other means. It doesn't replace the physical connection. Let's be correct, right? But we can still connect through social media, through text messaging, calling people that we haven't talked to in a while, and having some real heartfelt conversations, right? So when you wake up, what is the reason? And for many women, they've lost the reason, right? And what happens is the first couple weeks, it's kind of like, oh, great, this is a break. I needed this downtime. Let me recollect myself, okay? When you start getting it from weeks 3 to 4 or 5, and now we're starting 7, what are you doing on a daily basis? Right now, some of you are working from home, your day is full, and this may not be your specific challenge, right? But for those of you who it may be a little bit different, let's talk about this motivation piece, right? So it begins with your why. Why do I want to do this particular thing? Right? So I want you to take a minute. Maybe when you were married or in a long-term relationship, you guys had some goals together, right? What were those goals and dreams? Maybe it was to travel somewhere specific. Maybe it was to buy a home or a new home. Right? Maybe it was to send your kids to college. You were saving. Maybe it was, physical transformation. Maybe you were both on a health journey together. What was that? Right? And the first question is, was that something that you wanted to, okay, that you were doing collectively? Because sometimes we do things collectively in relationships that we really don't want to do. So I want to make that clear. You guys keep the hearts coming up, right? If part of that was something that you had a desire to do, are you still pursuing that? Right? Have you lost sight of maybe owning a home or upgrading your current home? Right? Why? Right? Have you, lost the dream of going to a particular, maybe you wanted to travel somewhere special. Have you annihilated that idea? Why? Right? Perhaps you wanted to start a business or write a book. Have you annihilated that dream? Why? Right? And so the key is, during this time, you stay motivated by pursuing your why. And if you have not identified your why, that is step number 1. What do you want? Do you have financial goals? Angela said, I used to love to travel. What's changed that? What has changed that? If you don't mind answering. Let's do some right on Facebook coaching. My diva says, daily, I uplift others over the phone. That is wonderful. Right? So you can get up in the morning and say, you know what? Hey, who can I bless today? Who can I encourage today? Right? It brings a different level of motivation to your day, but there has to be a reason. And not only in this pandemic environment, women, right? Every day, you need to be intentional. Those who've worked with me have heard this word 1,000 times. Intentional, right? Your day should be intentional. right? Not just letting our thoughts, our mind, our actions be willy-nilly. No, purpose-filled life, right? Angel said, I used to love to travel. I was going to kind of wait for a comment. Is there a particular reason? And if not, I'll surmise some things, but I'd love to hear from you, right? So this is, whatever that was, right? The first question is, if you agreed with it collectively when you guys were together, then what would be holding you back now to continue to pursue that in any area, right? Angela said, I think I've become a homebody. So now you have to ask why. Why have you become a homebody? Why have you become a homebody? Right? Now, have you always been a homebody? That's different. I'm an introvert by nature. Hard to believe, but I am. And that doesn't mean, like, I love to travel and things, but I like, just kind of hanging out by myself and doing my own things and that kind of thing. Whole nother topic. Right? So let's hear a little bit, why have you become a homebody? Because there's a reason to every behavior, unless, like I said, you've always been a homebody. So then that's really not a change. Okay. So as she's replying, I'm going to go on, right? Where I just want to make sure I don't forget anything. Right. So, okay. And so you're an introvert, right? So have you always been an introvert? Because I'm an introvert, right? And I love to travel. I travel. So the question is, as an introvert, as a homebody, what is preventing you from traveling? Let's go a little bit deeper. What is preventing you from traveling? So as she's answering, let me go on to my next question I want you to think about. So we talked about collective goals, like what would be preventing you from doing those goals solo, right? The second thing is, what do you want? What do I want in my life? Now, when I ask people this question, they can tell me 10 things they don't want. Right? And it's almost if it's a sin, so to speak, to articulate what we do want. Right? Isn't that something? Like, if you want a better career, if you want to own a business, if you want to upgrade your car or upgrade your home or purchase a home, right? A lot of people don't talk about that, but they can definitely talk about what they don't want in a mate, what they don't want in a house, what they don't want in a career, what they can't stand of what's going on in their life. But what do you want? Right? Angela said, at this point in my life, finances and time. Right. Okay. So perfect. So let's look at finances and time. Right? So that means the first thing I want to share with you too is, without all the details, but finances don't have to limit you from traveling. Right? There are still a few places I like to go. Yes. And you need to work there. We can talk about that next time we talk. Right? But here's the thing. Finances do not have to limit us from traveling. Right? Now, there's levels to everything. There's variables to everything. Right? But there's always a way. There's always a way. Right? And maybe you can't do it as often as you'd like to do it or as soon as you'd like to do it, but it's definitely worth working towards, right? So if you have a big image, I'm going to talk to Angela for a minute. Let's say you have an image in your mind of where you'd like to go. If you would like to share that, if you already have a place that you'd love to visit and you know that, drop it in the comment section for me. My diva said, I did something this year I've been thinking about for 3 years. I had bariatric sleeve done in January. So glad about it. Yes, good for you. I know so many people who've had, whether it's the sleeve or the actual bariatric, there's 3 different surgeries, and I can't recall them at the time, but who have had weight loss surgery. It's a better way to say it. And it has been phenomenal for them. Right? As a matter of fact, a good super friend of mine is writing a book. And my diva, if you are interested in being part of an anthology, connect with me off this broadcast and I will connect you with my friend, because she is doing an anthology with women who had bariatric surgery. Okay, so if you are interested in writing a chapter in a book or to share your experience, definitely let me know and I will make that connection for you. Okay. But I think that's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. As I was saying, in terms of travel, right? A lot of times there's a lot of information that we're not privy to, right? And so sometimes when we see just people traveling in general, that it looks so far off, or so, it's something that we can't do, right? It's almost like writing a book until you've written one or been a part, right? It just seems like such a task. Or even purchasing a home, it seems like such a task, right? For some people who haven't done it. And sometimes the difference really is just information, right? And when you have different information, or you are aware of different ways to travel, places to travel, costs and discounts, payment plans to travel, right? It doesn't have to be a thing that can't happen in your life. There's always a way if there's something that you really want to do, right? So again, what is motivation? It is the reason for acting or behaving in a certain way. And so you have to have something in front of you in order to motivate you every day, right? So think about those of you who are moms. When you had those little babies, right? And those little smiles, and that little fresh smell when they're babies. They could be crying all day, but you just love them, right? Your motivation every day was to what? Take care of those babies, right? And in different seasons of our lives, we have to learn to create a different motivation. Because if not, it's very easy to fall back into the humdrum of life and perhaps being depressed or being very negative, right? And, this is strong to say, but literally withering away, right? Literally withering away. And we don't want that, right? Because there is so much more inside of you. Those of you who are here in this community, you may have had some challenges in the past. You may be having some challenges right now, right? But there is a reason for you to push forward. There is a reason for you to get up every single day. God has a plan for your life. Jeremiah 29:11 tells us that God has a plan for our lives. Not just my life, but your life too. Yes. You, yeah, you on the other side of this broadcast, God has a plan for your life. A lot of times a couple of things. A lot of times we know what it is, but we're disobedient in a way that we're afraid to step out, or we don't have the information and we haven't sought out the information, right? And then, number two, we just really are unclear. And so we haven't really either self-assessed or really went before the Lord, right? Because God knows He created you, right? This is a faith-based community, right? God has created you. He knows what He has for you, right? No matter what your past has looked like, God can take those situations, turn them around for good. I'm a living witness of that, right? I'm a living witness of that. All right, and so when we talk about, I'm going to go back to Angela for just a second. When we talk about travel, I'd love to hear any of you who desire to travel. I would love to hear your travel destination, like your dream travel destinations, right? Where would you like to go, right? Where would you like to go? I would love, love, love to hear that. All right, let me get back to my notes, right? So your collective dreams must now become solo dreams. And I talked about that earlier. If there was something that you were going to do together, it doesn't mean that you have to annihilate that dream. It just may be a different path, a different route, and maybe a different time span for that to happen, but it doesn't mean that it has to die. Okay? What is your reason? So first thing I asked you was, why do you want, what is your why? What is your reason? What do you want in your life? Whatever that is, right? And this is one of the things that we dive into when we talk about rebuilding your self-esteem, right? So you guys know the RIM program, Rebuilding the Inner Me group coaching program, registration is now open. By the way, we've created a 2 payment plan. So you can go to bit.ly/rebuilding the inner me to get all the information there. But the reality is, most women have lost their dreams. And that collective dream can still be a solo dream, right? But perhaps you don't think that you have the ability to do it. You don't have the confidence to pursue it, right? And so we want to look at what's holding that back, right? She said Alaska, Israel, Ireland, Cozumel, many of the states. Absolutely. So you can pick one, right? And begin to look at some different resources that can help make that happen. Do you want to travel alone? Do you have someone, maybe a friend or a family member who could possibly travel with you? Let's just throw out some different things that come off the top of my head. There are travel groups that, and we know we're talking about outside this pandemic. Okay, so let's be clear, right? We don't know what's going to happen, what's next. But generally, there are travel groups where, several people, they may not know each other, but get to know each other through maybe meetings, and they travel to different places. Right? There's bus trips, there's day trips. I know when my mom was retired, she's 80 now. She'll kill me for telling that. But when she retired at 62, in Connecticut, there's a casino there, Foxwoods. There's another one, but Foxwoods is one of them. And they would do day trips. Right? So even though it was a local travel, but she would get on the bus by herself, meet people on the bus, and travel. It's about maybe an hour, hour and a half away for the day, go, and she likes to gamble and just be in a different scene. That's her fun thing. That's great. And come on back. So there's all kinds of ways to get started. And what happens is sometimes you just have to take the first step. So maybe just a day trip, right? Especially if you're not used to traveling alone. Right? Angel said, I have allowed the now to get in the way of the dreams. Absolutely. And we know that we always have to be looking forward, right? There's that happiness is in the pursuit, right? That happiness, that joy, that motivation is in the pursuit, right? So even maybe around your home right now, even if you don't want to take it to that context, right? What are some things in your home while you're home that you can do? Right? Or upgrade, or something that you've been, hey, Teresa, great to see you, right? So for me, the first couple of weeks, we were on a painting journey around here. So I painted my hallway, all the trim in the hallway, and I also did my bathroom, the main bathroom, the full bathroom, and the trim in that bathroom. And so I have a little touch up to do. And so the next thing I'm going to do is going to some part of my kitchen, and I may do that this week or next week. Not really sure yet. Right? Getting a little tired of having paintbrushes and stuff around, right? And then the next thing is going to be in my office. And then the next thing will be, or maybe my bedroom first, and then my office. Right? Hey, great to see you, Teresa. Great to see you. Right? So maybe there's just something at home that can keep you motivated. Right? So we're going to talk about the anxious piece maybe tomorrow or Wednesday, right? Because I know a lot of people are talking about anxiety, and we're going to definitely talk about that. But today on Motivation Monday, or Mindset Monday, I want to talk about the motivation piece, right? How to stay motivated. Okay, so there must be an impetus or a Kickstarter, right? What increases your energy? So one of the things that I share with many women that, I talk to in general, I've said it here, I say it in my group coaching programs, but you have to learn how to motivate yourself. You really, really do, right? So what does your morning routine look like? Right? When you wake up in the morning, what is your first thought? Think about that for a minute. What is your first thought? Right? Is it positive or negative? Right? Is it prayerful or not? I'm not even going to judge here, because you don't have to pray when you first wake up. You can do whatever you want to do. You can pray later. It doesn't, now there are some things I teach my clients in terms of the morning period. Right? But I ask you, what's the impetus or Kickstarter for your day? Right? So one of the things that I love to do once I get out of the bed is I love music. And just depending on what my mode is, I usually put on something. So it's music. Sometimes it can actually be a motivational video on YouTube. It could be my church ministry, right? A message from church, not necessarily just my church. It could be from another church. But that kind of just gets me in a certain mood, as I'm preparing for my day, once I get out of the bed, right? So what is your Kickstarter every day? Right? Because you got to learn how to kickstart yourself. Because the reality is there isn't going to always be someone around. But the better that you know yourself, the better you can understand what motivates you. Because what motivates me and what made it... Sorry, call was coming through. Two very different things. Right? Does that make sense? Let's see some thumbs up hearts going as we get ready to wrap up shortly. There has to be an impetus or a Kickstarter. Right? Know what increases your energy. Right? So again, we're talking about motivation. And what is motivation? It is the reason one has for acting or behaving in a certain way, right? Yes, good morning, Father. This is the day that the Lord has made. I will rejoice and be glad in it. Absolutely. Right? This is the day. Thank God we get to open our eyes because some people haven't. Right? And even in the midst of challenging times, we can always find something to be grateful for. And that has to become a habit. Right? And that's when it comes, we talk about retraining your thoughts. And that is the first thing we work on in the Rebuilding the Inner Me group coaching program. It starts right here. Hey, Chantel, great to see you, darling. It starts right here. You've got to learn how to retrain those thoughts. And we work on that extensively in REM, which I'm super excited that we're going to be starting that next Monday night at 9 p.m. So if you have not been in that group coaching program, listen, I have limited spaces. And we have also opened a 2-payment. The discount was early bird registration is closed, but we do have a 2-part payment program that you definitely want to get started. So you can pay half of that now to save your space. And then in 2 weeks, we'll send you an invoice for the second payment. Okay, so you can definitely get started. You don't want to miss it. And listen, this is a great time to focus on yourself, to focus on your growth, to focus on what you need. Absolutely. But the thoughts is my point. You got to learn how to retrain those thoughts. You have to learn how to change those patterns and behaviors that have been keeping you stuck. And that is what happened. Because here's the reality. If you could do it by yourself, you would have done it. If I could have healed myself without therapy and coaching and different coaching sources, right? Because I have several different coaches, then I would have done it. I would have done it for years. But not till I got into therapy. And then I went into coaching. I had actually my therapist did, or counselor did therapy. And then he began to coach me. Okay. 2 very different aspects. You guys know that. Therapy is about the past and coaching is about moving forward, setting strategies, goals, and plans for the things that you want in your life, right? In the next season of your life. Right? And so if I could have done that on my own, I would have done it. But I couldn't because our emotions a lot of times, thank you, Teresa, our emotions, right, are what cloud us. And sometimes you need someone in your realm, right, who can look at it objectively and say, hey, what about this? Hey, what about this? This is what you need to do next, especially if it's an area that they've had experience in. Hope that makes sense to you. So I want to leave you 3 questions with you on today. And I would love for you to give feedback in the community, whether it's in the comment section or on a separate post about how you reacted to these questions, right? You can either give an answer or you can say it was difficult for you or it didn't work for you, whatever. I would love to hear feedback, right? Because I can help if I know what people are going through or thinking, but I can't help if I don't know, right? And so you guys know who I talk about, the 4 agreements. If you haven't read that book, you need to read it. But there's a section in there that says making assumptions, right? So when we're communicating with anyone, right, we have to communicate because people cannot read our minds. And so even in this community, the desire and the goal here is for you to get your needs met as a separated and divorced woman, to come in fellowship in terms of being in a like-minded space, right? To be encouraged and uplifted and, having resources to help you solve your problems, right? So I'd love to hear your feedback. So let's get into the questions. And are you ready? Are you guys ready? Teresa said, awesome program. I highly recommend it. Absolutely. Yes. Chantel. Yes, yes, yes. Right. So are you guys ready? So the first question, what is the reason you need to be motivated? So if you desire motivation, what's your reason? What is your why? What do you desire? What do you want? Right? And so I want you to be very specific, right? Because we may need and want a lot of things. But what's most important to you right now? So when you think about the pandemic and you think about your challenges right now, what's most important to you? So what is the reason you need to be motivated right now? What is it? Number 2, what do I want in my life? What do I want in my life? You have to be able to identify these things. When we don't have clarity, right, then we will do all types of things. Our thoughts will be willy-nilly. Our behaviors will be willy-nilly. 1 week or month, we're doing this. 1 week or month, we're doing out of. Okay, to get out of debt. Great, Angela. Great focus. Let's talk about that. And if anybody else concurs, make sure you drop something in the comment section and let's take a look at that. Okay? So as I said, question number 2, what do I want in my life? In this season, what's most important for me? Right? Is it time? Is it relationships? Is it to buy a home? As Angela said, to get out of debt? Is it physical wellness? Right? Maybe you have some ailments and illnesses in your body. Maybe you just don't feel physically energy and you know you're not well in that area and you need to focus more there. Right? Maybe it's spiritually, that you feel disconnected from the Lord spiritually. Right? And you know that that is a huge part of your life or very important to you and you want to kind of reignite that. Whatever it is, I'm just trying to give some examples here. What do I want in my life? Right? Do not just think it. I want you to write it. Let me say it again. I don't want you to just think it. I want you to write it, right? Write the vision and make it plain. These answers are part of your vision, right? You've got to put it before you. What do I want? Let's put it on paper, right? Chantel said, definitely take REM 1 and REM 2. It's a must. Yep. And let me tell you guys that REM 1 was created and the women in REM 1 created REM 2 because they wanted more. One of my most popular group coaching programs. Just thought I'd throw that out. Thank you, Chantel, for saying that. And then point number 3, how will this help my life? So I'm just going to use you for an example. Angela, you don't have to answer this, but think about, I'm going to use it for example, to get out of debt. So when I'm out of debt, how will this help my life? Right? Or how will it bless others? Right? So if I start that business, how will it help my life? How can it bless others? Right? If I work on my physical well-being, how will it bless my life? How can I help others through that? Either of the two. Right? If I get closer to the Lord, how will that help my life? How will that help others? Hope y'all are following this. Right? A self-assessment is so key. And a lot of times we just don't take the time to really ask ourselves the questions. Sometimes we don't want to hear the answers, right? Or face ourselves, right? And listen, this is not about what other people want you to do. This is about what you want, what you desire. Time out for living for other people. Right? And what their opinions are. Chantel said this class will unconfuse you in all areas of thinking and coping with the new journey you're on. Absolutely. Absolutely. So listen, I hope that this has opened your mind a little bit, right? We talk about how to stay motivated during the pandemic. What is motivation? It is the reason. Right? And so the reason we do things, there has to be an impetus to do it. So there has to be a why every day. Right? That is how you stay motivated. You have to determine the why and you have to start pursuing that why. And that why can be something as simple as painting in your house, cleaning out your closets, right? In order to divert your energy. Or it could be something as working on a book, researching information about working on a book, or researching information on how to start that business, or researching information on your financial well-being, or researching that information about how to start changing your physical behaviors your daily behaviors to change your physical well-being. Teresa says self-assessment is so key and necessary and will help you move forward. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. So has this been helpful? Type in this comment section if this has been helpful to you, please, or give me a thumbs up and let me know. The journey is the reward. I love that. And as you guys are typing, let me just say this. I want you to think back. to a time in your life when you were super excited, when you were feeling really good, right? Usually it's in the pursuit of something. Usually it's on the road to something. Even when we're raising children, especially the younger children, right? We're so excited about imparting into them, right? And that's how sometimes, our kids become our life when they're younger. And we know that they're a part of our lives, absolutely. But we also know that as they begin to mature and they become more independent and self-sufficient, that we've got to pull back, right? But when they're young and we're teaching them how to say thank you, and we're feeding them every day, and we're excited about them learning how to write and read and all of that, right? That is purpose, right? We're excited about that journey, right? Or maybe you started a new career, or you get to that job for the very first time and it's a little scary, right? But you're excited about learning. Maybe when you went to college, maybe, I was in the military, right? So I want you to think about that, right? A time when you were in pursuit, and the feeling that you had when you were in pursuit, right? And that brings so much truth to that quote: the journey is the reward, not necessarily the destination. We want the destination, but the process brings the joy. The process brings the purpose. The process brings the motivation, right? That is the key. You got to be looking towards something. And so I want to challenge you, if you really are at a loss and you say, Andrea, I really don't know. I really have lost I can't even think of a why. Please get on my calendar for a free consultation. bit.ly/divorce liberator. It is a complimentary session. You do not have to go through this alone. A lot of times there are things right around you or within you, but you just can't see it, right? And so identifying your gift is my gift. One of my gifts. Okay? Absolutely. Right? Absolutely. So listen, that's all I have for you. Make sure you write those 3 questions. I'd love to hear your feedback here in the comment section of this particular live stream, or separately as an individual post. Let's engage, let's talk, let's commune among one another. That's what this community is all about. Is what it's been founded on, and I want to see that you grow. I want you to be happy. I want you to be purpose-filled and walk into this next season of your life. Listen, divorce is not the end-all be-all. It is difficult. So let me be very clear. I've gone through the journey twice, and it is difficult, but it is doable. And it is not the end. Even though when you're going through it, for crying out loud, it seems like it, right? But there is more life for you to live. You can live, you can pick up the pieces of your life, and you can love if you desire again, right? So again, I'm Andrea M. Stuckey, the Divorce Liberator, your favorite divorce coach. Check out my website, AndreaMStuckey.com. Make sure you register for the Rebuilding the Inner Me program, bit.ly/Rebuilding the Inner Me, all lowercase, all one word. And also make sure you're following me on all platforms of social media at divorce_coach7. If you're not already following me over on Instagram, shame on you, okay? Shame on you. So listen, I love you, women. I am super excited about, the future. What we're going through right now, this is a season. And yes, we don't have all the answers, right? And that's where faith comes in, because sometimes we will never have the answer. There may be things we never understand, but we have to learn how to be steady, right? As the Bible says, be strong and very courageous, right? This is a time to execute your courage. This is a time to stay in the word, quite frankly. And this is a time to associate and keep yourself around people who love, support, and are encouraging you. Don't inundate yourself with unnecessary information. Don't inundate yourself with all this negative rhetoric. Don't do it. I'm going to say it again. Don't do it. Begin to fill your mind, fill your spirit with things that would uplift you. And if you're having a challenge with motivation, I want you to think about too, what are you putting in here? What are you reading? What are you listening to? And what are you saying in your conversations? And if those things are negative, if you are always reading every COVID death, if you're always reading every COVID post, or what's happening in deaths and over here and over there, then that can contribute to that anxiety. And we're going to talk about that in the next coming days. But that can also drain your motivation. You can wake up feeling good and start talking and listening to that stuff, and you'd be like, oh, let me take a nap. Right? Real talk, right? So you have to be mindful of what you are putting up here. Okay? So have a wonderful and blessed Monday. I love each and every one of you. I'm super proud of you for just going one day at a time. Keep moving forward. You got this. You got this, right? So stay encouraged. And remember, as I always tell you, no matter what the situation or the circumstance is that you're facing on today, God is always with you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. Stay and be encouraged, and I will see you next time. And that'll be tomorrow at noon here in the DWU community. Absolutely, Teresa, you do. So I'll see you guys. Have a wonderful day. Bye-bye.